MCOMnet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is N5BB. I'm getting ready to start Skynet. Does anybody need to use the repeater before I start the net? This is N5BB. My name is Bill, and I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and space. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the prudent sign break in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control. That would be N5BB. Stations are reminded to identify the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID. You can also use Echolink node 37247, and I am monitoring Echolink. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, live audio and video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. I'm going to go through this very fast. General announcements, TAS, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening, was up, space exploration and history, the constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days if we have time, and astronomical questions and answers if we have time. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now, let's start with short-time check-ins. If you can't be here very long, please come now. Please check in with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB, Skynet, short-time check-ins. Let's try one more time. Do we have any short-time check-ins for Skynet? Nothing heard. Let's try general RF check-ins. Any RF check-ins for Skynet? Please come now. This is N5BB. Please come with your call sign, your name, and your location.
Planet.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony, waiting in the wings as the understudy.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
Okay, let's pause there. Recognize KF5JHA, Chaz. NT5TM, Tony. Thank you, Tony. We may end up using you later in the net, depending on who else appears. KG5APL, hello, Patrick. KG5WVL, James, hi. AA5AH, Robert over in Richardson. And Ted, WB4MFI. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now. This is N5BB, Net Control.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf Cruise in Hazlitt.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas.
Okay, I recognize KF5KWG and K5MCD. Do we have any other RF check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet, looking for RF check-ins. Well, we may have a short net tonight, which might not be all bad. Now let's look at Echolink. The only person I see over there that hasn't already checked in is Tom. KE5ICX. Are you actually there, Tom?
here, listening in template, KE.ICX.
Okay. I think you probably forgot that you were signed up to be net control on TechNet tonight. That's okay. I took it with the help of some other people, so it was covered. So I'm doing dual duty tonight. Oh boy. Okay. Next, any final check-ins from any other location? Any other way you want to check in? You want to come pound on my front door? That works. Any other way you want to check in to Skynet? Please come now. This is N5BB. Okay, do we have any announcements? This can be anything. This could be local amateur radio, national or international amateur radio, things about astronomy or space, something of general interest to hams. If you've got anything of interest to us, please come now with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, I'd like to remind everybody that we have a very full weekend. We've had great weather for fox hunting. I lost my wallet out in the woods. Whoopee! We've also got an afterglow movie discussion coming up tonight at 10:30 p.m., plus or minus about 5 minutes. A meeting on the air tomorrow at 7, a Racy's training tomorrow at 8, a Ham Fixins Net Monday at 7, and a DARC meeting this Tuesday at 7. Of course, that's in person at the Dallas Medical Center. More details at w5fc.org. We've got the ARRL sweepstakes going on. This is the CW weekend. It's just a big weekend for ham stuff. And I hope if you'd like to have more big weekends for ham stuff, that you'll sign up for Turkey Trot. This is an activity that the Dallas Amateur Radio Club has supported for many years. It's downtown Dallas, Thanksgiving morning. It's one of the easiest public service events there is, as long as we all show up. You know, as long as we're there, we do great. The YMCA people, you know, there's loud bands, they're busy, they don't answer their phones, they rent business band radios and they ignore those too. They all do better if they have a radio amateur following them and saying, hey, someone's trying to call you. They want to know where the porta potties are. So, Thanksgiving morning, great public service event. Please go sign up at w5fc.org. You'll be home in time for lunch, and dinner, for that matter. NT5TM, back to net.
Very good, Tony. Thank you. Does anybody have any comments or questions about Tony's items? If so, please come now. This is N5BB in the control. Well, Tony, you need to attach a fox to your wallet so you can find it. Oh, my. Okay. Does anybody else have any announcements for the net of any type? Any announcements for the net? One last try. This is N5BB, Skynet, looking for announcements or late check-ins.
Not read all of, but that's meant to be sung to the tune of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which we can't do on the radio. Somewhere over the planet, skies are red, and the screams that you heard of always end with someone dead. Oh, somewhere over the planet, spacecraft fly, and the schemes that you schemed of are schemes that really do come true. Woo-hoo. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the freaks are far behind me, where the plot points aren't like putrid plot, and people know it's time to stop the madness! I'll stop there. Yes, that's our Afterglow movie, The Wizard of Mars from 1966, or 1965. It is in color, amazingly. I can't believe they spent that much money. Tonight at 10:30, plus or minus 5 minutes, NT5TM.
Well, hope they didn't pay the scriptwriter and some of the actors, especially the sidekick, the one that was making all the corny comments and facial expressions and doing all the goofy things. Oh, my. Okay, that is the Afterglow net. That will start after this net is finished, around 10:30 p.m. Okay, I have some other announcements. The MSAT, Radio Imager Satellite Group, meets on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. local time, on this repeater, 146.88, with a PL tone of 110.9. However, it will not meet at that time or any time this coming Tuesday because we have a meeting for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. So we're skipping this coming Tuesday. It'll be back the following Tuesday. Let's see what else here. The AMSAT WestNet is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. It was on 147.140 megahertz with a 110.9 positive offset. It may also be on Arlington 440 repeater. I'm not sure right now where it's going to be meeting this week. So look up either the Arlington Club 2-meter repeater, 147.14, or 440 repeater. The DARC, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, has nets, a lot of nets every week. There's something going on every Monday night at 7 p.m. On the first and third weeks of the month, it's Ham Fixings Net, things about food. The second week, it's Emergency Communications. The fourth week, it's GeekNet. And the fifth week is a surprise. If we told you what it was, it would not be a surprise. I mentioned the Tuesday, most Tuesdays, except for the first Tuesday of the month when we have a club meeting. The AMSAT net will be at 8 p.m. on this repeater. About satellites, you do not have to be an AMSAT member to attend. On Fridays, we have the Search City Simulation Net at 8 p.m. on this repeater. Or if anything can go wrong, it does. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. On Saturdays, we have TechNet at 7 p.m. and, of course, Skynet at 9 p.m. And then at 10:30, we have the infamous Afterglow Movie Review Net. On Sundays, the first and third Sundays of the month, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. So we will have such a meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. At 8 p.m. tomorrow night, we'll have the Racy's training net on this frequency. So don't check in unless you're a Racy's member, but you can listen. This is N5BB, Skynet, Net Control. Every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on this repeater, we have the National Training System, Traffic System Training Net. That's at 6:30 p.m. We move messages. Then at 9:30 p.m. every evening on the 146.72 megahertz repeater in Irving is the late National Traffic System Net. We talked about The Wizard of Mars, the 1965 fiasco movie. And now we're going to, before we go on to the meat of the meeting, we're going to ask for additional check-ins. Anybody want to check in? N5BB, net control, Skynet. We may have scared him away. Chaz says he might want to check in with smoke signals. Yes, Chaz, they can be digital. They have to be Morse code. You know, one short puff or one very long smoke puff. That's the way you do smoke signals. Morse code is the preferred method. Okay, next we have the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Hey, Chaz, how can we look through a telescope? KF5JHA and 5BB, take it away.
Thank you, Bill. I have some suggestions, though, for some stuff that happened earlier than that. Tony, if you lost your wallet in the woods, you might look for some dough or maybe some bugs. They might help you out. Oh, come on, that was funny. Okay, if we're doing video, I'm not sure if we are tonight or not, but if we're doing video, slide number 13 would be the next Texas Astronomical Society meeting will be on Friday, November the 17th at 7:30 p.m. It'll only be in person at the University of Texas at Dallas because we're doing an auction. We've acquired some items in the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas that we don't need anymore, and they'll be auctioned off. And we're not quite sure how to run an auction online and in person simultaneously. So unless something changes, it'll only be in person. Now, the Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there'd be an opportunity for reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the first Saturday of the month, stargazing is held at Fairview. Do we have any ham radio operators at Fairview that would like to make a report? If so, come now with your call sign. Well, I heard a Kia, but nothing else afterwards. And I have secret information that says the video is on, so we do have the video version going on Skynet. That's wonderful. All right, you can check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Back to our net control, N5BB, it's all yours, Bill. This is KF5JHA.
Okay, Chaz, did you say you had a critique about something that happened earlier in the net?
No, it was about Tony with his wallet, and he should find does or bucks if you've lost his wallet in the woods.
Oh, doe. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, do we have any additional check-ins for Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta, Whiskey, John and Coppell.
This is
5, Juliet, Romeo, Whiskey, Brian, North Texas.
Okay, hold on here. Got a little trouble understanding. First, I'd like to recognize John, K5JDW. Then the next station, your audio is rather weak and your signal is too. Please come slowly with your call sign phonetically, your name and your location.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus Farfar.
N5GUS. Gus, I have you. I'm looking for the weak station that was in there earlier, right after John. Was there another station that was trying to check in with a call sign that began with J, I think? If so, please try again.
Kilo Delta 5, Juliet Romeo Whiskey.
Okay, I could not pick any of that up. I heard some kind of Romeo whiskey, but that's all I got. Can you try to increase your audio level or your signal level? Come very slowly with your call sign phonetically. Well, we heard absolutely nothing that time. Did anybody recognize that station? Can you help me at all?
NT5TM.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
I had my audio turned way up. I heard Kilo Delta 5 Juliet Romeo Whiskey. I wouldn't swear an oath, but that's what I heard. Kilo Delta 5 Juliet Romeo Whiskey. NT5TM.
Thank you very much. I heard something similar to that, but I wouldn't swear either. So, Kilo Delta 5 Juliet Romeo Whiskey. Can you confirm if we have that right? And tell us your name and your location, please.
That is confirmed. Ryan, North Dallas.
Very good, Ryan. Confirmed. And you are in North Dallas. Thank you very much, Ryan. We appreciate it. You're just weak enough. It's just a little too much noise on there. Okay, does anybody else want to check into Skynet? This is N5BB, net controller.
November 5, Papa Uniform Romeo, Rob, Mobile in Lancaster.
Kilo 5 Juliet Delta Whiskey, recheck.
Okay, recognize N5PUR. Hello, Rob, Mobile. And go ahead, John, with your recheck.
Could be wrong with the KD5 station. It sounds like it said Brian with a Bravo. K5JDW.
Oh, KD5JRW. Is it Ryan with an R or Brian with a Bravo?
Romeo, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Ryan. John, I win this one. I don't win very many, but I win this one. But thank you very much. Okay, next. National Space Society events and activities. That's for me because I am the member at large and the membership director for the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. We actually had an event today, although we didn't get the kids we were expecting, so it was kind of stunted. It was at the University of Texas at Dallas, UT Dallas. It was an event designed for high school kids involving gyroscopes and things that spin. And we actually had Virginia Smith, NV5F, with her CubeSat simulator. It was there, and it was operating. We had Jonathan Brandenburg, KF5IDY, a local ham, very active in AMSAT, with a plasma thruster. That's right, a plasma thruster for small satellites. And I was there with a presentation about how astronomical things rotate and revolve, natural things, natural satellites, and how artificial satellites do the same thing, and about thruster wheels and all kinds, reaction wheels and other ways that you can keep satellites from tumbling. So we had everything ready to go and a presentation and everything. Unfortunately, we were short on kids, but we still were able to talk to a few people. And also met a local engineer that was there that is in the National Society of Black Engineers, who works for a company, Rogue Space, I believe, which is working on various items for debris mitigation in space. Their first spacecraft is going to be launched on Thursday. It's a 3U CubeSat being launched on a Falcon 9 with some other things. And it's going to have, I believe, a experimental water thruster that can thrust using vaporized water, which is good because we can find water on astronomical bodies like maybe the Moon, Mars, and maybe even asteroids. And they're making things that will be able to move around in orbit and inspect other space platforms, other satellites with cameras. So that's the business they're in. You contract with them, they'll come and they'll look at your satellite, take pictures of it, and they may be able to do some remediation on some things in the future, and maybe deorbit things. So that's the business they're in. Anyway, that was really fun. So that was the National Space Society event today. This is N5BB Skynet. The next meeting of the National Space Society, North Texas chapter, will meet a week from tomorrow on Sunday, November the 12th at 3:30 p.m. at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving on Highway 183 in Beltline. The meeting is also available virtually. If you'd like to watch the meeting virtually or you have any questions, contact me at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE at BYROM, or N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net on email. To sign up for the WebEx session, or if you have any other interest in the National Space Society. The virtual speaker at our November 12th meeting will be the famous and popular Dr. Pascal Lee, the co-founder and chairman of the Mars Institute. He is a planetary science at the SETI Institute, and he's the principal investigator of the Houghton Mars Project at NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California. The Houghton Mars Project has a research site on an island north of Canada that is a desert island. Yes, there are such things up north in the Arctic, and it is an analog for Mars. It's cold up there, it's dry, it's kind of like Mars, although the air pressure and the gravity are different. The subject of Dr. Lee's presentation will be humans on the Moon and Mars. Dr. Pascal Lee was a major speaker at the International Space Development Conference, the big National Space Society meeting that was held in Frisco, Texas in May of this year. x.nss.org. So that's NTX, short for North Texas, .nss, short for National Space Society, .org. The North Texas chapter also has an active Facebook page. Just look for National Space Society of North Texas in the search box. There's also activity on Twitter and other social media. Does anybody have any comments or questions or late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet.
November 8th, Whiskey Romeo. N8WWR, Romy, and Grapevine. Just checking in for the count. Thanks, Bill.
And I recognize N8WWR. Do we have any other stations that I could check in?
Delta 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Hawaii of the station.
I recognize Clay, N5OF. Hi, Clay, you're a little weak, but I got you, in Mesquite. And there was one other station in there with no audio. Please try again.
Bill, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo Lima, Bill, 150.
Okay, I recognize Bill, KF5ZBL. Bill, you're very distorted, so there's something wrong with the link there, but we did understand. I don't know where you are, but I could tell it was you. So you might want to check. The audio may be clipping somewhere, but there is an audio problem. Okay. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
NT5TM recheck.
Go ahead, Tony.
I have this feeling that one of our check-ins is Charles, KC5RAI. His radio has been emitting unintentional DTMF tones all day. NT5TM.
Oh, Charles, KC5RAI, are you there? Well, whoever it is, you have no identification, just a string of tones. So you need to try troubleshooting that off the air, maybe with some other local ham. Okay, next, excuse me, this is N5BB, Skynet. Next is discussion topic of the evening by the Net Control Station, myself. So, the topic is NASA's Lucy space mission discovers a moon of the Dinganish asteroid. This is from Scientific American yesterday, although it was also in many other locations. I think New York Times, NASA, and other places. NASA asteroid mission discovers tiny surprise moon with really bizarre shape. NASA's Lucy mission flew back past an asteroid nicknamed the Dinky, only to discover an even smaller space rock orbiting it. This was written by Megan Bartels in the November 3rd online issue of Scientific American. NASA's Lucy mission has just snagged a celestially good deal, 2 asteroids for the price of 1 flyby. While flying past a small main belt asteroid called Dinganish, the spacecraft found an even smaller moon orbiting it. The two form a binary asteroid pair. A binary was certainly a possibility, says Jessica Sunshine, a planetary scientist at the University of Maryland and a co-investigator for the mission. But it was not expected, and it's really cool. Lucy launched in 2021. On November the 1st, 2023, that's right, just 3 days ago, it performed its flyby of Dinganish, that's Dinkinesh, which the mission personnel nicknamed Dinky. The maneuver itself was a dress rehearsal for Lucy's primary mission, a series of flybys of strange Trojan asteroids orbiting the Sun ahead of and behind Jupiter. These flybys are extremely fast, and the team wanted to make sure Lucy's probe could latch onto and study a space rock, even while whipping through the solar system. And latch onto the asteroid it did. It worked flawlessly, says Hal Levinson, a planetary scientist of the Southwest Research Institute and the principal investigator of the Lucy mission. As a test, this was amazingly successful. This is N5BB, Skynet. The fruits of that success are a newly discovered asteroid, an even dinkier dinky, as it were, and a host of puzzles to solve. Scientists are only beginning that process. Lucy has beamed about one-third of the flyby's data down to Earth so far. Now, this article came out yesterday. The public has seen even less. So far, the Lucy team has only released a series of images showing the moon's movement around Dinkinesh and an image from near the spacecraft's closest approach, taken from about 270 miles away. But even with that glimpse, scientists are thrilled. Among the interesting features immediately apparent are a stark equatorial ridge on the main body of Dinkinesh, as well as a secondary ridge-like line branching off of it. And this asteroid looks relatively old and a little beat up. It's covered in craters, Sunshine says. The silhouette, even the outline of it, is not smooth at all. It's just hit after hit. Levison says the smaller asteroid looks practically tantalizing. Particularly tantalizing. I think the imaging we haven't released yet says that the secondary, at least, is going to be interesting, he says, noting its shape is really bizarre. In addition, it sports a ridge just like the larger body, although this one doesn't seem oriented the same way, which Levison calls surprising. Dinkinesh's little moon was certainly a bonus, but Lucy personnel weren't entirely surprised to see it. As the spacecraft approached Dinkinesh, the team had speculated the asteroid might be part of a binary pair because the craft's measurements of the brightness of the space rock as a speck against the night sky didn't seem to match such observations they had previously made from the Earth. One explanation could have been that Dinkinesh hid a small companion. Although Levison says the moon Lucy really did see doesn't quite solve the mystery yet either. The team was particularly gratified to discover Dinkinesh's moon because scientists believe that such main belt asteroids eventually get kicked deeper into the solar system to orbit the sun at about the same distance as Earth. Although the details of this process remain unknown, researchers monitoring these near-Earth asteroids have found that about 15% of them are binaries. One of these is the asteroid duo discovered last fall by NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test mission. It was observed last fall. DART slammed into the smaller body Dimorphos, which orbits the larger Didymos. The pair of a similar size ratio is that of the 2,590-foot Dinkinesh, and it's about 720-foot companion. Both duos are also rocky in composition, making Sunshine particularly eager to compare the two pairs. We have this twin set in two different environments, she says. It's a great science problem. They're clearly very different, even though they're very similar. So it's pretty damn exciting. Levinson says he and his colleagues are still waiting for the spacecraft to send home the rest of the data, including color images and spectroscopy that could help scientists understand the nuances of Dinkinesh, as well as lower resolution images from different viewing angles that will help them interpret the rock's terrain. I think there are still more treats that the system is going to give us as we get more data down, Levison says. There's a lot of cool stuff to come. So, a reminder, the Lucy mission is going, its final targets are the Trojan asteroids that are they're in the same general orbit as Jupiter, but some of them are ahead of Jupiter and some are behind Jupiter in the orbit. So that's what it's going to look at, is those asteroids, which are kind of weird. There's a lot of interest in looking at them in detail. And on the way, it was going through the main asteroid belt and just happened to see Dickenish here with the little moon. So I'm sorry for all the similar sounding names. We have Dickenish and the unnamed moon, and we have Dimorphos and Didymos. Too many D's. Okay, end of that. Next, do we have any questions, comments, or check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. On Echolink, I see Dave, WD8AJQ. Dave, would you like to check into the net here? If so, please let us know where you are. Right now I'm listening for Dave, WD8AJQ. You there, Dave? Nothing heard. Dave may just be monitoring. Okay, next, Chaz. What's up? What happens when we go outside and look up? KF5JHA and 5BB, Skynet.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. That was slide number 1. Slide number 2, please. On October 28th, the moon was full. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. On November the 5th, that's tomorrow, the moon phase will be the third quarter. On November the 6th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,569 kilometers. On November the 13th, the moon phase is new. On November the 20th, the moon phase is first quarter. On November the 21st, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 369,818 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 3, please. On November the 4th, the moon will be in conjunction with the star cluster M44, the Beehive cluster, in the early morning sky. Bill says over on Echolink that I'm weak. I'm coming through strong on Echolink. I don't know. Slide master, slide number 4. On November the 9th, Venus and the moon are in conjunction in the early morning eastern sky. And this is KF5, JHA. Slide number 5, please. On November the 11th and 12th, the Orionid meteor shower peaks. This meteor shower can have a half a dozen meteors per hour just before dawn. You can get more information about meteors and meteor showers at the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 6. On November the 14th, the moon and Mercury are in conjunction in the western evening sky. Mercury's been in the morning sky for a while. Now it's swung around and is visible in the evening sky. Slide master, slide number 7. On November the 17th and 18th, the Leonid meteor shower peaks. This meteor shower can have a couple of dozen meteors to well over 400 meteors per hour just before dawn. You can get, once again, you can get more information about meters and meteor showers at imo.net and the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 8. On November the 20th, the Moon and Saturn are in conjunction in the southern evening sky. Saturn's been a beautiful planet to see in the evening sky for a while. Slide Master, slide number 9. On November the 20th, 21st, the Alpha Monoceroid meteor shower peaks. This meteor shower can have between, maybe half a dozen to way over 400 meteors per hour just before dawn. Now, we're not sure what it will peak at this year, but only time will tell. We'll probably know after it happens. Slide Master, slide number 10. On November the 21st, the Moon and Neptune are in conjunction in the evening sky. You'll need a telescope to see the planet Neptune. Slide Master, slide number 11. Remember that we have another solar eclipse coming up in 6 months. The solar eclipse is when the Moon is in between the Earth and the Sun, and for a few lucky people on the Earth, the Moon blocks out some or all of the Sun from our view. Slide Master, slide number 12. On April the 8th, 2024, that's the total solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. From Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out from our view for 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see the stars in the sky just as if it were evening twilight. The next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas won't be until the year 2317 on July the 9th. So this total solar eclipse is a very big deal since it only happens about once every 300 years here in North Texas. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13, please. So once again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, November 17th at 7:30 p.m. only in person. And it'll be an auction of not needed items anymore from the Texas Astronomical Society. And of course, public observing sessions have continued on, and on the first Saturday of the month, stargazing is held at Fairview. That's probably what happened tonight. All right, Slide Master, the next slide, please, is slide number 14. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Well, hearing nothing, slide number 15 says the moon wanes. So to these words of this segment of Skynet, stay safe, keep well, pray for a world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment in Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5 JHA, Backdoor Net Control.
Thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB, net control for Skynet. I'd like to recognize WD8AJQ, who was in there for a few minutes on Echolink, but it looks like he's now lost his connection. Or maybe he got tired of our net. He was there for a minute, though. Do we have any other people that would like to check into Skynet? If so, please come now. Kelly, K5KTX. Kelly, are you within range yet? Well, Kelly wasn't sure she'd be back in time to read her segment on space exploration, space history. In this case, mostly space history. Tony, NT5TM, would you please do the honors and read item number 6, space exploration and space history. NT5TM and 5BB, Skynet.
Yes, sir, and it is a privilege. Space history is a wonderful subject, as is the future with space exploration. Thomas K. Mattingly, commonly known as Ken Mattingly, a key commander during the Apollo 16 mission to the moon, died at age 87 on October 31st. Mattingly, yes, known as Ken or TK, was a skilled pilot and was hailed for his accomplishments as the command module pilot for the Apollo 16 mission that landed on the moon in 1972. During that mission, the astronaut team was able to collect samples from the lunar highlands and achieve all of its major objectives. But he was also well known for being removed from the ill-fated Apollo 13 crew 72 hours before its scheduled launch. Mattingly was removed at the last minute after exposure to German measles. Backup command module pilot Jack Swigert replaced Mattingly. On Apollo 11, 1970, April 11. I'm sorry, I'm just too tired. On April 11th, 1970, the Apollo 13 mission blasted off with Swigert at the helm and astronauts Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes. Almost 56 hours after takeoff, oxygen tank number 2 exploded on Apollo 13, causing tank number 1 to fail as well. Houston, we've had a problem, Lovell famously called down to mission control. Mattingly played an important role in helping bring the crew back to Earth. He stayed behind and provided key real-time decisions to successfully bring home the wounded spacecraft and the crew of Apollo 13. Mattingly began his career with the U.S. Navy in 1958 and became a pilot 2 years later. He was deployed in the battleship USS Franklin D. Roosevelt, from which he flew planes for 2 years. In 1966, NASA chose him to become one of 19 astronauts in that year's class. He served as a member of the astronaut support crew for the Apollo 8 and 11 missions and was instrumental in the development and testing of the Apollo spacesuit and backpack. After being a command module pilot for the Apollo program, he had a stretch of almost a decade before he took the helm again. In 1982 and 1985, what a wait, Mattingly was the spacecraft commander for 2 space shuttle missions, and he flew for 504 hours in space. In space history this week, starting with October 30th, in 1964, NASA research pilot Joe Walker climbed into a very strange contraption. Oh man, this thing was just a killer. This machine was called the Lunar Landing Research Vehicle, LLRV, or the Flying Bedstead. The spindly, 4-legged research craft was designed to simulate the conditions astronauts would find when landing on the moon. The moon only has 1/6 of Earth's gravity, and there is no atmosphere to create drag, so the final landing had an almost vertical approach with the speed controlled by a rocket engine. The main engine on the LLRV would lift it to test altitude, and then be throttled back until it only supported 5/6 of the craft's total weight. The craft and pilot would then be subjected to conditions similar to those they would experience on the moon. Walker demonstrated this principle on 3 flights on that first day of testing. And this is true, but he's carefully leaving something out because he's so modest. As Neil Armstrong, the first astronaut to land on the moon, said, the first mission would not have been successful without the type of simulation that resulted from the LLRVs. I'd like to add here, they were famously uncontrollable, and Neil Armstrong himself had to eject from one to save his life. We're glad he did. October 31st, Halloween. In 1936, a group of California Institute of Technology, Caltech students, and enthusiasts that would become JPL conducted its first liquid-fueled rocket test. 22 years later, in December 1958, 2 months after NASA was created, JPL was transferred to NASA from the U.S. Army. JPL is still managed by Caltech for NASA as a federally funded research and development center. But these days, JPL's main focus is on robotic space exploration and not actually jet propulsion. The engineers at JPL put America in the space age by building the first American satellite to reach orbit, Explorer 1, launched on January 31st, 1958. Now they're sending robotic missions to study the farthest reaches of our solar system. On November 1st, 1963, the Arecibo Observatory opened in Puerto Rico. For over 50 years, it was home to the world's biggest single-dish radio telescope until July 2016, when it was overtaken by China's 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, FAST. Arecibo is perhaps best known to the general public for its role in movies, having appeared in films such as James Bond's GoldenEye and the X-Files? Really? I didn't follow the X-Files, but yay. It's also popular in science fiction literature because of its importance in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Arecibo has fictitiously picked up intelligent extraterrestrial radio signals and novels such as Contact. Oh, right over there. Contact from 1985, and The Sparrow in 1985. Wow, big year for good science fiction. Following the 2 breaks in cables supporting the receiver platform, the National Science Foundation stated in November of 2020 that it was decommissioning the telescope due to safety concerns. Unfortunately, disaster was quick to ensue. On December 1st, 2020, the main telescope collapsed before controlled demolition could be conducted. The NSF announced 1 year ago that the telescope would not be rebuilt. I hope you heard me grit my teeth. On November 2nd, 2000, Expedition 1 docked with the ISS. The crew of 3, Bill Shepard, Yuri Gustenko, and Sergei Krikalev, rode aboard the Soyuz TM-31 to begin their stay on the ISS, and since that day, the space station has been continuously inhabited. Expedition 1 marked the beginning of the first permanent off-planet residence for humanity. These astronauts and cosmonauts were very busy. They were visited by 3 space shuttle missions and 2 automated resupply craft. They installed a set of solar arrays in the Destiny Laboratory, and their mission came to an end on March 18th, 2001, when they came home on Shuttle Discovery for STS-102. In 1957, on November 3rd, Sputnik 2 launched, the second satellite put into orbit by the Soviets. They did that in just under 1 month, man. It was quite different from Sputnik 1. Sputnik, I guess I should say, launched a simple shiny aluminum sphere with a transmitter that went beep. Sputnik 2 included a dog. She was a Moscow street dog. They didn't want to launch a purebred for fear that, a pampered dog couldn't take it. Laika, whose name just means barker in Russian, proved that animals could survive in space, but the mission did not go well. It was a one-way trip. There was no re-entry, and in fact, they couldn't even keep the spacecraft cool. Oh, man. my favorite space mission. Mariner 10 took flight in 1973 on November 3rd. I have this mission in hardcover. It was the first spacecraft to visit Mercury, the first spacecraft to use a gravity assist. It used the gravity of Venus to bend its orbit toward Mercury. And the first spacecraft to ever visit two planets. I just love Mariner 10. Getting into orbit around Mercury is a horrible challenge. It was next achieved in 2011 by Messenger. I mean, if you try to get to Mercury, which is very tiny, you mostly just fall into the sun. But the mission controllers for Mariner 10 managed. It made 3 flybys of Mercury in the early 1970s. It eventually lost track of Mercury and ran out of fuel, but it encountered Mercury twice in 1974 and then again in 1975. It was also the first spacecraft ever to use solar sailing. Practice tilting the October 30th, 1946, Robert Hoot Gibson, who had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flights. That's why you've all heard of Hoot Gibson. We also had Ronald Guerin, who flew twice on a space shuttle mission and an ISS expedition. Wow, we haven't even gotten to Halloween yet. Sandra Magnus, STS-112, 126, and then she flew on STS-135 and Expedition 18. And then Michael Collins, now we're on Halloween, October 31st. Gemini 12 and Apollo 11. October 31st, 1949, Terrence Wilcutt, STS-68, STS-79, STS-89, and STS-106. I've never heard this person's name before, and now I have to go look him up. You probably should too. November 1st, 1953, Jan Davis, STS-47, STS-60, STS-85. November 2nd, 1944, Jeffrey Hoffman, STS-51D. Oh, I hate those old complicated mission numbers. But then STS-35, STS-46, STS-61, and STS-75. Another person I'm going to go look up because they got that many flights. They're probably pretty good at what they did. And finally, Kevin Shelton, who flew on STS-49, STS-59, and STS-76. And I am out of air and water. I need to take a drink. This is NT5TM, back to net.
Thank you, Tony. Does anybody have any additional check-ins, comments, or questions? This is Skynet, N5BB Net Controller. And Tony, I've just checked Wikipedia. Mariner 10 is presumably still orbiting the sun, although its electronics have probably been damaged by the sun's radiation. It's not been spotted or tracked from Earth since it stopped transmitting. It was commanded to stop transmitting. The only reason it would not still be orbiting the sun would be if it hit by an asteroid or gravitationally perturbed by a close encounter with a large body. Okay, again, before we go on to Chaz's his last episode here tonight, do we have any other check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, Chaz, time for Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week. KF5JHA, this is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. I saw somebody over on Echolink KI6LZQ Michael, but he went away, so I guess he can't be checked in. Yes, Slide Master, slide number 16. Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Caroline contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Caroline's Constellation of the Week this week is Cepheus, the king. Now, let me just briefly go over. Cepheus' wife Cassiopeia was very vain. She boasted that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs. One of them was the wife of the sea god Poseidon, which angered the sea nymphs and Poseidon. And Poseidon sent a sea monster to ravage the coast. That sea monster's name is Cetus. That's a constellation in the sky. Cepheus turned to an oracle for advice to find out how to prevent this disaster of a sea monster ravaging the coast. And the only way to appease Poseidon was to sacrifice his daughter Andromeda to the monster. So Cepheus and Cassiopeia did this, leaving their daughter chained to a rock for Cepheus to come and find. Luckily, the hero, Perseus, came flying by on a winged horse, Pegasus, and he found the princess and rescued her and killed the sea monster. Later, he married Andromeda, and of course, they lived happily ever after. All of these main characters are constellations in the sky. So Cepheus is the king in this story. So let's do the jokes of the week. This is the most important part of Skynet, of course. Slide Master, slide number 17. So the jokes are usually related to the constellation. So what is the king of all tools? Well, that would be the ruler, of course. What is called when a king and a queen have no children? That would be called a receding airline. The fattest knight at King Arthur's round table was circumference. He acquired his size from eating too much pie. What was King Midas's favorite pet? A golden retriever. Why was the king wet? Because he was the reigning monarch. Once there was only a king that was only 12 inches tall. He was a lousy king but made a great ruler. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. So Delta Cephei serves as the prototype class of stars known as the Cepheid variables, or just the Cepheids. The brighter the star, the longer its period of variability. It varies with a period of 5.36634 days. It's an eclipsing, a pulsating binary, it's not a binary star, it's just an eclipsing variable, not an eclipsing variable. Oh, I'm so confused. Let's go on to another star, Gamma Cephei, notable for its fact that it's due to its precession. It becomes our pole star in about 2,000 years. In a telescope, Gamma looks white with a faint tinge of yellow color. Used with the Cephei, the Garnet star is so named by Herschel, who noted its red color. To honor its discoverer, many sources refer to Mu as Herschel's Garnet star. This star looks noticeably red or even in orange in a finer scope. Slide Master, slide number 19. IC 1396, the Elephant Trunk Nebula. Well, that would be an interesting thing to look at, although you really need to look at it, in pictures. It's a large emission nebula with an involved open star cluster lying just south of Herschel's Garnet star. The total integrated visual magnitude of IC 1396 is about 3.5, which sounds fairly bright, but it's spread across an area of the sky that's 3 degrees in diameter, which means it's relatively low surface brightness. Though the embedded open star cluster is easy to see, the nebula is a challenge to detect visually, requiring very dark, transparent skies, and usually it's much easier to see photographically. Slide master, slide number 20, NGC 188, or also known as Caldwell number 1, is a faint cluster, easily missed, and being only 4 degrees from Polaris, it resides in an area of the sky that is often overlooked. NGC 188 contains about 150 to 200 stars, but many of them are on the faint side. So growing down to almost 18th magnitude, which you can't even see in 16-inch telescopes like mine. It also spans a quarter of a degree of the sky. It's best known for its large aperture and low power is what you really need to use. Oh, yeah, 16-inch telescope would work. Slide master, slide number 21, NGC 40, also known as Caldwell number 2, is the Bowtie Nebula, a planetary nebula so named because of the structures within it resemble the shape of a bow tie. Though some sharp-eyed observers, like Stephen James Amiro, high shape is not apparent visually, but it's only brought out by time exposure photographs. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 22. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Cepheus the King. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in the observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate on pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide master, slide number 23, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cepheus the King. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week we'll look at Pegasus, the winged horse. You know, that was in the story we just talked about. And this is KF5 JHA sending it back to our net control. 73, everyone. Hey, the Rangers did it.
Thank you, Chaz. I think we've heard that before. I don't think that was a secret. This is N5BB, Skynet, net control. Do we have any additional check-ins or any questions or comments? If so, please come now. Okay, Tony, NT5TM, can you read out number 8, space launches for the week? I really would appreciate it. And by the way, the November it should be on Thursday. The Transporter 9 mission that you're going to talk about, that's the one that I mentioned earlier. I think I mentioned earlier. Rogue Space, ROGUE Space, is sending their first satellite up that will be, I think, have a water thruster, and will be checking out its camera for inspections of another spacecraft. Really exciting. So, Tony, go right ahead. Space launches for the week in 5BB, Skynet.
Oh boy, this is the point where I'm going to embarrass myself because I didn't read this far in the script. I do see Transporter 9 shown right there. It says November Falcon 9. What is this actually expected to launch? Do you know?
I believe it is Thursday. And let me look at a calendar. Thursday. I'm having trouble here. Thursday is November the 9th. So it's a typo there. It's Thursday, November the 9th, not Thursday, Falcon 9.
Okay, well, I'll try to do my best, but yeah, that's, I guess, kind of a cool typo. On the Falcon 9th, the Transporter 9th, or November 9th, will launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, and this is a big rideshare flight in a sun-synchronous orbit with lots of microsatellites and nanosatellites for commercial and government customers. I also see a SpaceX cargo resupply mission number 29 launching on the same day. I hope they can pull it off, November 9th, on a Falcon 9 from Kennedy Space Center. This is a Dragon 2 cargo spacecraft on a resupply mission to the ISS. And they're going to try for a booster landing on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. This is the 29th mission by SpaceX conducted under the CRS, Commercial Resupply Services contract, with NASA. It's been postponed from November 1st and November 3rd and November 5th and November 7th. They just apparently keep kicking this thing back. I hope it launches on November 9th. There's also a pair of broadband internet satellites apparently being launched into medium Earth orbit for a company based in Luxembourg. These are Boeing satellites. Well, that's their bus, the basic spacecraft configuration, to provide internet services over a very large area. The first stage booster is again expected to land on a drone ship. It was delayed from March and June and August. You know, space flights are just kind of fragile, and we need perfect weather, and we're hoping it launches on November 12th, or else it will have to launch next year. There is nothing, well, okay, a Saturn V would have been more beautiful, but nowadays there's nothing quite as beautiful as a Falcon Heavy. And apparently we're looking forward to one being launched at some point in December for the USSF-52 mission for the U.S. Space Force. It has an unspecified classified payload, and it was, again, bumped several times, and, oh boy, yeah, going on for a couple years here. Let's see, being more specific, we've got one coming up on December 24th, a Vulcan Centaur. Oh man, I'd like to see a Vulcan rocket launch. Again, this is from Cape Canaveral. A ULA Vulcan Centaur will launch its first ever flight with a commercial lunar lander for astrobiology. Oh, this is the one I keep reading about. The Peregrine robotic lander will carry multiple experiments, scientific instruments, and tech demo payloads for NASA and commercial customers. The mission will also launch 2 prototype satellites for Amazon's Kuiper broadband constellation. This Vulcan Centaur rocket will fly in the VC-2S configuration with a pair of solid rocket boosters, a short-length payload fairing, and 2 of the venerable RL-10 engines on a Centaur upper stage. This was delayed from mid-2022, late 2022, first quarter 2023, and May 4th, 2023. Space flight. If they can do this in December, that will be awesome. I think there's a ton of spaceflight fans who want to see the Vulcan fly. December 24th would be a great Christmas Eve present. Okay, I'm going to start going faster because a lot of these are now TBD. We're hoping to see some late launches this year on Falcon 9 rockets, a pair of Worldview Legion satellites. These are from Maxar Technologies, which sells commercial satellite imaging. They're trying to deploy a satellite constellation of 6 satellites, and these would be the first 2. Another one, the Arctic Satellite Broadband Mission, no specific date, just fourth quarter from Vandenberg. 2 Grumman satellites in a high elliptical orbit over the Arctic region. Let's see. Oh, more TBD. A Swedish geostationary concept that we're hoping... Oh, sorry. It hurts so much to be an Ariane 5 customer. So many delays in Ariane 5 manufacturing, and they're out of those now. So we're hoping to get the Ovscon 3 satellite up before the end of the year for Sweden. Another couple of Worldview satellites, and hoping to get those for Maxar up by the end of the year. And then this last one I see here was, no, it's still scheduled to go for an Atlas V. Atlas V 101. The U.S. Space Force 51 mission. The mission is classified an undisclosed payload into an undisclosed orbit from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station sometime before the end of the year. So we have a lot of very vague schedules, but yeah, some of them are going to be pretty. NT5TM.
Very good. Thank you, Tony. This is N5BB, Skynet. We're now at the end of the net. We're running out of time, and Brenda isn't here, so we're going to skip recent astronomical discoveries, although it's really interesting. That article in Science Daily, Tony, is talking about measuring the effects of supernova that went off in Earth's history nearby, comparably nearby. If they're too close, it would fry us. Okay, now let's see. Before I close the net, do we have any late check-ins? Last call. This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, let me count here. Be right back. Tonight we ate 18 hams participating on the air in Echolink. Thanks to all of you who checked in this evening.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow moving at discussed astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We are always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls. You can send an email to nets, that's N-E-T-S, at w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Till next Saturday night, this is N5BB, Bill. I'll be closing a net at 10:30 p.m. local time. We're turning the repeater at normal amateur use, except we have Afterglow coming up, which is a rather abnormal amateur use. I want to remind everybody that the time change is occurring this evening. That's right. Set your clocks back if they're not automatically set back. And we have Afterglow coming on. Tom, do you want to, if you're still there, KE5ICX, do you want to talk about the Afterglow net? This is N5BB, closing Skynet. Good evening.
Kilo Delta 5, Juliet Romeo Whiskey.
KD5JRW, this is N5BB. Did you want to get involved with Skynet, with Afterglow?
I apologize, I just wanted to make sure to see if my radio sounded any better.
Sounds okay, Ryan. You're a little weak, but I understand you're okay right now. I think it's a little better than before. But you're still a little bit weak. So if in the future, if you can increase power or raise the antenna, that would help. Where are you located?
North Dallas, basically Coyton in the bush. I've got a antenna 2 meter in the attic, so it's kind of questionable at best.
Understood. This morning, in the middle of the day, I was at UT Dallas, not too far from that location. Let me say 73 for now, and we're going to be looking for a Skynet net control. Excuse me, an Afterglow net control. Talk to you later, Ryan. Thanks for checking the net. KD5, JRW, N5BB. Good evening.
73, thanks.
And Bill, thanks for that earlier. I'll get my ears checked. K5JW. Good net.
Okay, John, do you want to be net control for Afterglow?
No, thanks. I got to go get some stuff done. Appreciate it, though.
Okie doke. Okay, this is N5BB. Does anybody want to be net control for the Afterglow net? We are talking about the infamous movie from 1966, The Wizard of Mars. Anybody want to be net control? Because if I can't find somebody else, I've got to do it myself. You probably don't want to listen to me again. You've already listened to me too much in the last hour and a half. Anybody want to be net control for Afterglow? Well, I guess I will be net control. I'm going to wait another couple of minutes. So in another couple of minutes, I'll come back and take check-ins for the Afterglow net. Again, the movie some of us saw was the 1966 movie, The Wizard of Mars. This is N5BB. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for Afterglow. This is N5BB. We're now going to try to see if we can run one more net, the Afterglow movie net, for this evening. The movie we're reviewing is the 1966 science fiction movie, The Wizard of Mars. And I hope we have somebody else beside me that's here that wants to talk about it. So let's start check-ins now. Would anybody like to check in for the Afterglow movie discussion of The Wizard of Mars? This is N5BB, net control.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. This is Tony. Someone has to go first. I did not see the monstrosity. Movie.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike. I also did not see the movie. Out of curiosity, has the repeater been dead, or are we just having technical issues?
There's no technical issues. There's an interfering station, but that's all.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo. This is Chris in Southeast Dallas, and I did see the movie, if we want to call it a movie.
Okay, I recognize NT5TM. Tony did not see the movie. KF5JCM, who did not see the movie. K0FER, Chris did see the movie. Do we have anybody else for the Afterglow net? This is N5BB. We're reviewing The Wizard of Mars, 1966.
This is Whiskey 9, Victor Papa Uniform, Sam and Alan. No, I did not see the movie, just listening in.
And I recognize W9VPU. Thanks, Sam. Anybody else want to talk about The Wizard of Mars? Okay, nobody else. Tom, K5ICX, I see you're back in there again. Do you want to participate in Afterglow? I'll be net control. Do you want to make any comments, Tom, during the Afterglow net? Okay, Tom, that's strange. I heard you just fine on Echolink, but you're not coming through the repeater. Hold on. Yeah, you're not coming through the repeater. I'm not sure what's going on. You have any ideas?
The volume, I'm looking for the mic on. How about now? Can you hear me now? KE5ICX.
Yep, that was the problem. I do hear you now. Okay, so we have one other station, KE5ICX, but he has not heard the movie, if I understood you correct. Is that correct, Tom? You did not hear the movie, is that right?
That's correct, Bill. I was not able to see the movie. I just didn't have a chance to cram it in my very busy schedule this week.
Okay, this may be a very short Afterglow. It looks like there's only two stations, myself and Chris, K0FER, who saw the movie. So let me confirm that. Is anybody else on frequency besides Chris and myself that saw the movie, The Wizard of Mars? Anybody else on frequency that has seen that movie? This is N5BB, Afterglow. Then and we'll try to make this very quick and painless. Chris, you saw the movie. What did you think about the movie in general? What did you think about the movie in general and the plot, such as it is, and all that kind of stuff? Overview of the movie and the plot. K0FER and 5BB.
So, I know this movie sort of was meant to have some sort of tie-in to The Wizard of Oz, Yellow Brick Road, Golden Road, and especially how it ended. But this was terrible. Goodness gracious, this was a bad movie. I mean, we've seen humdingers in Afterglow before, but this is up there with one of those movies I wish I could unsee. It's like the writers were wholly robotic. Like, I know it was written in, what, the 50s, 60s, but it sounded like something a very poorly AI wrote, and it sounded like an AI acted it as well. Basic physics lessons were missed, and yeah, it was bad. Back to that.
Well, I agree with you, Chris. This is N5BB Afterglow. The movie was a real stinker. For those of you that have not seen it, it was a Mars launch, the first human Mars mission. There had been a robotic mission, but this is the first human one. And when they were going close to Mars, and they had a problem, and they had to eject their main part of their spacecraft and land in the smaller portion in kind of a crash landing. And then they went around on Mars with sometimes not a lot of regard to things like gravity, which seemed to be Earth gravity, and air, which seemed to be Earth air. And they talked some really bad fake science about cracking their helmets so some of the tiny amount of oxygen in the Mars atmosphere at low pressure would get into their space suits. Totally wrong. The air would go the other way. It would leave the spacesuit, not come into the spacesuit. So it was just really bad. And they end up finding some kind of big old castle-like fortress that was built by some Mars inhabitants, evidently a very long time ago. And they found some of them that were kind of entombed and were kind of, they weren't physically active, they were mentally active. They literally had glowing brains. Again, it made very little sense. And the further you went in the movie, I think the less sense it made. So, okay. Does anybody, I know nobody else saw the movie, does anybody else want to, comment about the plot, just in case you happen to read about it on the web? This is N5BB. Any other comments about the plot or general comments about the movie as a whole, The Wizard of Mars? This is N5BB.
KI5 JCM.
Yes, go right ahead.
Just to suggest and force the operator to watch this movie, that seems like a kind of poetic justice. That will be my only comment. KI5 JCM, back to net.
Yeah, that would be nice. Tom said they had John Carradine in it. This. Well, let's talk next about the characterization and acting. The characterization and acting, such as it was. What do you think, Chris? K0FER. What do you think about the characterization and the acting?
I think that the acting was as wooden and as robotic as it could possibly get. I know that they were probably doing some voiceover stuff to handle like B-roll, but it felt like they were high schoolers reading off of a script with no real emotion or stakes or anything. Certainly no development. The only one that seemed to be committed to the delivery of his lines was the wizard character, played by Mr. Carradine. But even that felt like he was high on peyote and, reciting something he wrote in a fever dream. I know to kind of get back to the plot of it, that the absurdities of having a universal time symbol and having that be a pendulum is really, I don't know, it just assumes a whole lot of how species might understand the universe. This film was really, really, really bad. It certainly was not The Martian. K0FER, back to net.
This is N5BB. I totally agree with you, Chris. For those of you that haven't seen it, kind of later in the movie, there's a humongous, very, very large, mechanical-looking clock. And you see this weird pendulum with a smiling little sun face on it, and these large hands. When I say large, we're talking about maybe, I don't know, 15 feet long. I mean, really huge. And why in the world this monster mechanical clock was there and somehow stood for time in general wasn't clear. And they had some little round object that they inserted into the middle of it. I didn't understand any of that. It just was, it was not understandable. The action was just weird. I don't know. They did something just to be doing it, I guess. But it was, and John Carradine as the wizard had this very long, he was there virtually, he's not really there physically. He had this very long monologue at one point, which was about 5 times longer than it should have been. And he just went on and on and on. And by that time I got to the middle of it, I was tuning out. I didn't care what he was saying at all. And when he got to the end of it, I thought, why in the world was that in there? I guess it added several more minutes to the movie, but it was just a useless long thing. Let's see. And Chris, what did you think about the sidekick character? You know, he was one of the astronauts that was always saying goofy things, trying goofy things, making funny facial expressions, suggesting they do crazy things. I can't remember his name there, but didn't that seem like it was way over the top in 5BB?
Yes, it was over the top, but I think that was intentional. I think there was, this movie clearly trying to evoke Wizard of Oz vibes, like Dorothy as the female lead, the Golden Road, Yellow Brick Road kind of stuff. And I think that guy was the Scarecrow, the man with no brain. Back.
Oh, I didn't really think about that tightly in 5BB. Was this recorded in English? I did notice that, didn't it seem to you that the woman character, that we'd never heard her voice, that everything she said was a voiceover? Is that what it appeared to you? Yes,
I do believe everything was a voiceover, like I said, but it's, I do think it was recorded in English. The lips seemed to match what that she was saying. I just think they probably had technical issues, or maybe she didn't know how to speak into a microphone properly. I don't know. I very quickly stopped expecting anything from this movie. It was bad, man. Here's your FBR.
I agree, Chris. This is N5BB. But everything she said sounded to me like it was voiceover, separately mic'd, in a studio, and all of the dialogue, nearly all the dialogue in the movie was, as Chris said, very wooden. It was quite often goofy, meaningless. I just didn't even try to write down all the goofy things they said that were just goofy. And without trying to be funny, they were just wrong. You wouldn't say that. And in the scientific things they said that were anti-scientific, I don't know. It's like a fifth grader wrote this script or something. I don't know. In fact, most fifth graders I know would be embarrassed to be anywhere near this. Okay, let's see. Chris, do you want to make any comments about the special effects or anything else in the movie? There were some special effects, I guess. What do you think about that, N5BB?
Well, the special effects were my first clue in that this was not going to be a quality viewing experience. I felt like the things weren't even attempting to do practical effects. Like the pulsating light was a blob, like that looked like it was painted onto the film of some sort. It was the lava was, I don't know, it looked like tomato soup, and the little creatures, the tapeworm thing, giant tapeworm things were, looked like they were made out of toilet paper rolls. They keep focusing on these, trying to point out these anomalies in the Martian atmosphere, but it's like they're highlighting the worst part of the movie, which is the non-existent special effects, which a sci-fi horror movie should have. This movie is begging for an MST3K treatment. There were so many bad little lines that were teeing things up. For instance, towards the end it says, "Do you see what I see?" And it literally showed a star. It showed a star. And I could hear Crow singing, "Do you see what I see?" Yeah. Kind of want to get in touch with the guys here in Dallas with the Maki Horror Picture Show. They kind of do an MST 3K thing down at the Texas Theater. I think they would love this. They would love this. Here's your FER making that.
Yeah, you could analyze it line by line, because every line in the movie nearly is, it's not funny. It's, okay, we've shot it, we've crumpled it, we've run over it with the Caterpillar tractor. I think we've done about everything we can to it, Chris. Does anybody else listening want to make any other comments about this movie or ask any questions? It was really bad. This is N5BB, Afterglow. Any other comments?
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Yeah, Tony, go right ahead.
Well, thank you, Bill. I don't have anything to say about this movie. I feel really glad that I didn't watch it. But I would like to second that mention there for the Texas Theater. You know, there are not many independent movie theaters that have survived all these years. Almost every theater that's still around is part of a chain, and they're not. And they do a lot of interesting things with oddball midnight movies. I've been to the Texas Theater a couple of times for silent movies with live band accompaniment. It's like what people would have seen in the 1920s, but even better. So yeah, it's actually worth looking up the Texas Theater online and tracking down interesting things you can see there. So I want to vote for them too. NT5TM.
Okay, very good. Well, anyway, I got a response from Tom on text about a movie for next week, so I'll announce that in just a moment. Does anybody else have a comment about The Wizard of Mars? Any more comments before we close the net and talk about the next week's net? This is N5BB, Afterglow. Okay. Next week we're going to talk about After, AFTER, which is evidently a 2019 movie. And, oh, here we go. Tom has included some comments. Carolina with a K, Wydra, and Stephen Strait star in this Twilight Zone-esque tale of the afterlife about two bus crash survivors who wake up from a coma to discover they are the only inhabitants of a small American town which is slowly being swallowed by a monstrous storm. So this is After, AFTER, a 2019 movie about tales of the afterlife, bus crash survivors, and waking up the only inhabitants of a small town. Does sound like Twilight Zone. So, After, 2019 movie, next week on Afterglow. Good evening to all. See you later. Remember, tomorrow is when the clocks go back at 2 o'clock in the morning. Fall back. This is N5BB Clear.
Bill, thank you so much for filling in. NT5TM.
Well, thank you, Tony. I felt I had to, considering I did see this horrible movie. It was really bad. It really was. I was getting ready to take some notes, and I finally realized every single line of dialogue I would have had to take notes about. There were so many non sequiturs and just crazy things. And like we said, at least one character, the woman, seemed to be completely dubbed. Completely. I don't know why. Just really weird. Anyway, if you want to hear about what not to do in a when making a movie, watch this one. 73 is good evening. We'll talk to everybody later. And the sky is not the limit for Skynet. N5BB Clear.